Is this thing on? First of all, I would like to share your goal with everybody because it'll help keep you more accountable, and also like when we're chatting to each other in the chat, we'll kind of be able to understand where everyone's coming from, because this isn't a weight loss challenge and everyone has their own goal. It's good for us to be able to share them. So, Dee, would you like to go first?
I want to focus on less, takeaway and fast food, and focus on eating more healthy foods.
Excellent. Great. That's a really good goal.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just want to get my knee back on track, build the strength back up.
Excellent. We're recording this so that we can send it to everybody else that can't be here, and then I'll get them all to share their goals and you as well to share your goals in the group. So we've got them written down as well. The second thing that I want to mention is sleep. I cannot stress this enough. If you're not getting 7 to 9 hours sleep all or most nights of the week, you're really setting yourself up to fail. Sleep nourishes your whole body and brain. It protects against Alzheimer's. It helps solidify memories, resets metabolism, helps ward off sickness. It's also the time where your muscles do all of their growing and repairing. So whether your goal is fat loss, muscle gain, just being able to stay on track with diet, you're going to make better choices. You're going to see better results if you can get good sleep. If you're not getting good quality sleep, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. I'm saying this first because I honestly believe it's the most important thing over nutrition and diet. Honestly, if you are trying to lose weight or gain muscle or get stronger or stay on track, or whatever it might be, if you're not prioritizing good quality sleep, then it's like banging your head against a wall. If you want to know more information about why sleep is so important, or you want to be able to set up a good routine to get better sleep, we can talk individually at your next session about how to do that. So we're going to talk about food now. My opportunity to feel like a primary school teacher. I'm not going to talk too much about food because there is a lot of information in the ebook that I have written that I will post later today or after this in the Facebook group for everybody to receive. I also, in that ebook, there's 2 links to a couple of different podcast episodes. So if you want to do further learning, one of them is one that I've recorded about all of like the basics that I've outlined, because there is quite a lot of reading in the ebook. So if you're not a huge reader, you can put the podcast episode on and listen instead if you find that an easier way to kind of learn / spend your time. If you're driving, it's much easier to listen to a podcast than try and read a book. Find time to do that. So the 3 basics that you need to know about eating healthy, and this is for improved longevity. If you have a specific goal to get stronger, gain muscle, or lose weight, then they are separate. These are purely for optimal health and improved longevity. Number 1 is water. So you should be drinking your body weight times 3 in litres per day. And that is not including any time that you exercise. So say I weigh 70 kilos, times that by 3 is 210. Put a decimal point in there, 2.10 litres of water is how much I should have a day. And then if I exercise for an hour, I need an extra litre of water for every bit of sweat that I lose. So that's an easy way for you to figure out just how much you should be having. And herbal tea would be included in that as well. Caffeine dehydrates you. So if you're having like black coffee, obviously there's some water in there, but you really want to be trying to drink as much water as possible. It's just going to help your metabolism, it's going to help you keep full, it's going to nourish pretty much every part of your body. We're made up of a lot of water. Number 2 is eat vegetables. And put it and fruit. Vegetables have pretty much no calories. I think it's Weight Watchers, and they have like a point system. It's essentially counting calories, but instead of like normal humans need about 1,800 calories a day. Obviously that's quite a big number. So then you're adding up 300 here and 600 here, and not everyone's great at math. So I think Weight Watchers, they made it like way simpler. So it's like 1 point, 2 points or whatever. Vegetables have no points. You can eat as many vegetables as you want. And I think that's the easiest way to explain how good they are. If you can just stock up. A good plate of food should be 50% or more vegetables. And then, you've got your little bit of protein. There's a good visual in the ebook that I've written for you, but it's like cupped handfuls of vegetables and then carbs, protein, fat is like a thumb, and you work your way down. You really want to fill up on vegetables as much as possible, figure out fun ways that you can put them into your diet, blend them into soup, chop up extra things into salads, stir fries. If you don't like them, figure out ways that you can make them tasty. And try and have as much variety as possible. Lots of like fresh herbs. I love dill, oregano, parsley. Like I just go to the herb section, and they're so full of nutrients. They're so good and delicious. And then number 3 is avoid processed foods. So this works well for you guys' goal. So pretty much that anything that comes in a packet, no good.
But to what extent though? Like, for example, tofu is okay, processed, but it's okay, right?
Yeah.
Where do you know like your boundaries?
So anything that has numbers in the packaging or words that you can't pronounce, because we weren't made to eat chemicals and random numbers. We were designed to eat food, whole food. If the ingredients list is really long as well, it's got emulsifiers, it's got different types of sugars in there, that they're the key things.
Okay.
Basics is like, if you avoided most things in packets, you'd probably be, except for things obviously need to be kept fresh, meat and dairy and stuff like that. But yeah, anything that's like, I actually don't know what that is, or if it's got colouring 610 or sugar, this blah blah blah, like it's just full of random stuff that our bodies actually weren't designed to process. So long term, having a lot of things like that, it's not good for us. Numbers you can't pronounce, words you can't pronounce, not numbers you can't pronounce. That's a whole different problem. Lovely. So they're the 3 basics. I'm going to add on one last thing, and then I can answer any questions that you might have about that. And that is fasting. So this is good if you know, because sugar is highly addictive. So a thing like sodium or foods that are highly processed, they are highly addictive, they're easily digestible, they have millions of dollars spent on making them crunch just right and smell good, and the packet looks good, and so you have these associations with the food, not just tasting good, but it's fun to eat. So I don't have good and bad, I have fun foods. So if you know that you have an addiction to something at the moment, fasting can be a really good way to break that addiction. And it is not for everyone. Like I have friends that if they don't eat first thing in the morning, they're shaky. And so I know that fasting isn't for everybody, but it can be a really good tool if you either are wanting to lose weight or break an addiction to a particular type of food. You can either go 1 day a week, no food at all, just water, black coffee, herbal tea. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's not unheard of. Our ancestors would have fasted for long periods of time without eating. The human body is completely resilient. After a certain period of time, you actually stop feeling hungry. You actually go through like a slump of tiredness, and then you'll pick back up again once your body starts burning fat that we have ample use of. So if you want to learn more about fasting for whole like days or so, there's also more resources in the ebook, but I can give you lots more information about that if it's something that you're interested in. The other way of fasting is to do what they actually call time restricted eating or intermittent fasting, which is essentially you skip a meal or maybe two. Some people this is how I eat a couple of days a week, purely because it works with my timetable. I teach dancing from 4 or 5 until 8, and then I don't want to come home and eat, so I have my dinner at 3 or 4 o'clock, and then I don't eat the next day until 11 a.m. after I finish work. So I have unintentionally time restricted my eating because I haven't eaten for 16 or 18 hours, and that works really well for me. I don't find that I get hungry, I get really good sleep, and yeah. But again, not for everybody, but if you are trying to lose a little bit of weight, especially if you have a sedentary job and you're not exercising much, cutting out one meal a day can be super beneficial. Then you don't have to worry about calorie counting quite so much. You can still eat good whole foods at the 2 meals that you do have, but you don't have to worry about portion size, you know? You go, I can have a little bit extra rice or a little bit more pasta or a little bit more meat or cheese or whatever it is, and not worry so much, because by skipping one meal, you've really taken out 600 calories, and you're not going to add that in by having a little bit more rice. Like that might be another 100. So it's a good way to kind of take the guesswork out. If you changed nothing else about your diet and lifestyle, if you kept exercising the exact same amount, if you skipped one whole day of eating, did the whole day, you'd lose 250 grams of fat every week. One more thing that I wanted to mention, and I do in your ebook, there is a visual for this. 1 kilogram of fat on your body burns 1 calorie a day. 1 kilogram of muscle burns 5 calories a day. So I might actually pass around the visual so that you can see. You can have 2 people of the same weight have completely different bodies. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I was like, not loading. There we go. Okay, so both of those bodies weigh 60 kilos. They look very different.
Yeah.
Well, this person has a lot more muscle. And the benefit of having more muscle, you want to get this? The benefit of having more muscle, other than just being stronger, is that you're going to burn more calories at rest, because your body needs more fuel to sustain those muscles. If I am 50% fat and 50% muscle, then 50% of my body is burning 5. I can't do the maths on that, but like a lot more fat than the other 50%. So if you can get up to a point where you've got more and more muscle and less fat, you don't even have to work as hard to burn more calories. So getting stronger is always going to be a benefit, no matter what your goals are. Being stronger is great for longevity. Any questions about diet? No.
Fruit. Is there a limit to how much fruit you should have a day?
They like 2 to 3 pieces of fruit. It also depends on the size of them. So like rock fruit, like plums and nectarines, are not that they're in season at the moment, but 2 of those is only 1 serve of fruit.
Okay.
So like a large banana or a large apple is 1 serve, but then like it's 2 mandarins.
Yeah.
Like, so you probably can be having more than what you think, and it's like a whole cup of berries. So like that's a lot of berries. Some of them have more, like berries are really high in antioxidants and quite low in sugar. So if you're really trying to trim down, then berries are a great way to go. Where there's like A banana is medium GI, so bananas are such a good snack. You put them in your handbag, you take them everywhere with you. But unless you eat them with like a little bit of protein, some nuts or seeds like that, they actually don't fill you up for very long because they are quite high in sugar. They release the sugar and then you're hungry again in a shorter period of time. Whereas, something else might fill you up for longer. Or if you eat it with some nuts or seeds or nut butter or something like that, it'll slow the digestion down and keep you fuller for a little bit longer. But I don't really think that as long as you are avoiding processed foods and trying to cut those things down, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to eat as much fruit as your heart desires, really. I know that people avoid it if, like they're doing like bikini modeling competitions and they want to have like no extra sugar in their diet, but it's natural. It's so good for you. It has and fruit has a lot of other nutrients that vegetables don't have. So it's definitely good, especially for longevity, to eat lots of fruit. We don't want to limit nature's goodness. Any other questions about nutrition? You can always ask me in our one-on-one sessions or in the group. During the 8-week period, it might be nice to ask in the group, because if you're thinking it, someone else might be as well, and we can just share that information all together. So we're going to spend the rest of the session talking about habits, because that's the hardest part about achieving any goal. Because if you don't actually say specifically how you're going to achieve your goal, you're setting yourself up to fail. So we need to break down. We're trying to avoid junk food, processed food. We're trying to rehab the knee. They're very vague at the moment. So what we need to do, it's also the hardest part is changing your habits is actually changing who you are. I'm going to relate back to a couple of years ago when I did my foot course. We had to meditate every day for 30 days as a part of the process, and it was really hard for me. When it comes to eating well and exercise, I don't really find that a challenge. So I think it'll be easier for me to relate with this meditation thing, because it was really hard. And we got given all of the information that we need about changing the habit. But the thing is, it's not about being like, oh, I've got to try and meditate for every day. I had to become a meditator. I am the type of person that meditates every day. And it's about shifting your whole identity. And that is what you need to do if you want to avoid processed foods. Then you can't be like, oh, for the next 8 weeks, I'm not eating processed foods. You have to go, I don't eat processed foods. I'm not that type of person. Because if you don't have that much conviction, it will never stay long term. It needs to be like, I want to rehab my knee. I'm going to do 2 minutes every day of my rehab exercises, because I'm the type of person that rehabs their knee, that gets their knee working better. It needs to be a very strong conviction. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always had. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be doing the desired habit most of the time. In an election, there will be both votes for both sides. You don't need to be unanimous to win. You just need the majority. So try not to be too hard on yourself. Part of why often changing habits fails is because once we slip up once, we go into this downward spiral of like, if I'm not perfect, there's no point in doing it, I'll just throw it all out the window. We should really have more of a like, don't fail twice. So it's like, you don't want to eat junk food or processed food, but like you go out for fish and chips or whatever it is, whatever your crutch is, then don't also have McDonald's for dinner. You go, that's fine. These things happen, it's just life. And then you have a salad for dinner or soup or whatever it is. So that you're still the type of person that doesn't eat processed foods, but it was a special occasion and that's fine. So when we're changing behaviours, we need to make it very obvious. So for example, with my meditation, I had to set up a space in the lounge room that was very inviting. This also goes to the next one, which is make it attractive. It had to be right there in front of me so that as soon as I walked into the lounge room, I saw it. And I didn't do this straight away and I failed. I had this chart, which most of you will have seen because it's in the welcome thing that I gave you. But I use this for meditation. I put a little yoga person on there and I had to cross off every day. And if I missed a day, I had to go back to the beginning. So it took me probably 20 tries. Like I failed, I'd be doing a week, I'd be doing 2 weeks, back to the beginning. It took such a long time. It was really hard for me. And I went through lots of different stages of failure. Like initially I was like just trying to muscle through it, like conviction, like I can do it. And then that didn't work. And then I was like, okay, I need to make a place that I'm going to do my meditation. I bought myself like a nice cushion to sit on. I set up some candles. And then I was like, I need to buy a mat. I need to buy incense and like have a process around it. I needed to make it really obvious, right there in front of me, really attractive. It was a pretty space that I wanted to use. I wanted to sit there. And then the next one is also make it easy. So I had to start with 2 minutes, a minute, a very small amount of time so that there was no excuse of like, I don't have time for that. It was like, all I need to do is sit down here for 1 minute and then I can then check it off. And that is the fourth point, make it satisfying, because you need an instant reward. We live in a society of instant reward. Instagram, online shopping, whatever it might be, it's constant gratification. But those things don't help us achieve long-term goals, because your long-term goal might be not to eat junk food, but right now junk food tastes so good, you know? So it's like you have to make not eating junk food satisfying. Give yourself some sort of reward. Be like maybe you want to save for a holiday or a new jacket or a new pair of shoes or something like that. And every time you don't eat junk food out at a restaurant, you take the amount of money that you would have spent and then put it in a savings account. So that then you're giving yourself a bit of instant gratification going, excellent, I'm saving towards this thing that I actually want way more than junk food. So that's what I was like crossing these off and it was no good. So I had to go out and buy myself some like gold and silver textures to make it even more pretty. I laminated it, I printed it off in color, like and like put it in like on the fridge, like somewhere really obvious. And so that every day when I could cross it off, it was like pretty, it was satisfying. I really had to jazz it up for myself, because even though I knew how good it would be for me and I had read so many like reviews about like long-term results of like being calmer and getting better sleep and all these things that come with meditation, knowing the benefits were not enough. And it's the same when it comes to diet and exercise. Everyone knows if you move a lot and eat really well, you'll feel great and you'll live a long time. But in the moment, that's not enticing enough to, you know, avoid a piece of cake at a party or something like that, whatever it might be. There are also like pretty much the opposite if you want to break an old habit. So if you do eat junk food 4 times a week or whatever it might be, fun food, you have to make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. So say you have, and this is hard if you like live with your partner or maybe your partner is the downfall. You need to hide the junk food. You need to put it on the top shelf, far away at the back, so that if you wanted to get it, you'd have to get a stool, or better, like lock it in a safe and put the key somewhere else, so that to get it, you would have to go, and the whole time you're thinking, I really shouldn't be doing this, I know I shouldn't be doing this. So it's invisible, it's difficult, it's far away, and yeah, maybe that's, I don't know how you would make that unattractive, but maybe the box is ugly. I don't know. I don't know. That part's hard. And then, yeah, make it unsatisfying. So by giving yourself a reward for not doing it, or giving yourself a bit of a punishment, like be like, okay, I'm going to do 20 burpees every time I eat junk food. No, you're less likely to do it. Habits are ingrained in us, so there's so many things that we don't even realize, like after you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands. Like that's a habit. You don't think about doing it, you just do it because we've always done it. When you leave the house, you put your shoes on, or, you know, when I leave the car, I put my glasses away. These are all habits that you just do and you don't even think anything about. But there are other things that happen in our life, like every time you sit on the couch, you feel like popcorn, because maybe that's the association that you have. Or every time you go to the movies, you feel like popcorn. Or maybe every time you go to a particular supermarket, you always buy chocolate. Or after you go to the gym, you always stop for a coffee. Like these things that, unfortunately, if you've done them for a long enough period of time, the cues will always be there. So sometimes you need to change your environment to try and create new cues. Like if you know there's one particular supermarket that you usually go to and you know where everything is and you always walk down the lolly aisle and grab a block of chocolate or whatever it might be, you then need to go, okay, maybe I actually need to start going to a different supermarket and set up new habits in this new environment. That can often be really beneficial. Things that you can do, it's called point and call. So they did this in the railway in Japan, and every time they're leaving the station, all the people say what they're doing and point at what they're doing. Like, I don't understand trains, but they like point like starting train, and the person on the deck's like train leaving, and it like lowered the fatalities on train tracks by like 70%. It was huge. So you can do this in your own life as well with any habits that you don't like, especially like, I do this, I'm like, I've been on my phone too long, or I've been sitting down the couch too long. You'll be like, I shouldn't be eating this junk food. I know it's not good for me. Purely the act of saying it out loud and calling yourself out on it can make you second think it and really bring it to mind. Something that is usually autonomous, like grabbing a snack when you sit down on the couch, you're now not just doing without thinking, you're thinking about it while you do it as well. We're going to do an activity. It's a habit scorecard. So we're just going to start off with like the first part of your day, because this can take quite some time, but you're going to write down everything that you do on a typical day. Get out of bed, brush teeth, have shower, drink coffee, eat breakfast, feed dog, whatever it is. I want you to write everything down from when you wake up to about midday in a list. Just start by doing that. Try to have no judgment over any of your habits. It's just acknowledging them. Once you've got down most of those, I want you to put a plus next to the habits you think are good, a negative sign next to the habits you think are bad, and then an equal sign next to the ones that you think are neutral. So this is an activity that you can repeat at home with every task that you do every day. So maybe in the afternoon you spend 3 hours on the couch watching TV and you think that time could be better spent cleaning the house or doing some rehab for your knee, whatever it might be. If you write it down and then you put a little negative sign next to it, it's kind of like a visual point and call, like I was saying before, and having it written down and having you be able to say it out loud, it's just ways of bringing a little bit more to your attention. We tend to think that we're all doing a bit better than we are, and writing things down can sometimes make us call ourselves out on our bullshit. So another thing that you need to do for changing habits is make it very specific. So this next thing is called an implementation intention. That is, I will do X habit at X time in X location. It's not really good enough to just be like, I want to lose weight, I want to be a tidier person, I want to read more. It needs to be very specific. So for me with my meditation, it had to be as soon as I wake up in the morning, I will meditate in the lounge room for 2 minutes, so that it's a very clear goal. And if I haven't done it, it's a very clear failure, rather than just being like, I want to walk for 10 extra minutes a day. That seems like it's okay, but you need to go, after I've eaten my lunch at midday, I'm going to go for a walk for 10 minutes in the park, so that you've outlined it very clearly for yourself. If it's more so a habit that you're trying to stop, you can still use this by using the list that you've already made about knowing when you kind of fall off the bandwagon, whether it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon every day or on Friday, Saturday and Sunday evenings. You go, on Saturday, when I feel like fish and chips, I am going to go for a walk instead, or I'm going to make something instead, or I'm going to meal prep earlier in the week so I don't need to do that. But outlining specifically when you know that you usually have that bad habit happen, and then how you're going to try and work around that. Or to give yourself that something satisfying as well, and make that clear, like with the saving for something. Like on Saturday when I feel like fish and chips, I'm going to transfer $20 into my savings account. Something like that to try and break a bad cycle. And then after a long enough period of time of repeating the new good habit, you'll have an urge to do the right thing at the right time, even when you can't say why. This is one that I really like, habit stacking. So it's teaming something that you already do with something that you want to do. If your goal was to get stronger, you go, every time I go to the toilet, I'm going to do 10 push-ups. If you want to improve your balance, go, every time I brush my teeth, I'm going to do it standing on one foot. Because you already go to the toilet every day, you already brush your teeth every day. By including what your goal is in with your current habits that you do without thinking, it's a really good way. Like, especially for knee rehab, you'll be like, every time I go to the bathroom, I'm going to do 1 minute of my knee rehab exercises or whatever it might be. This one I find really good way to, especially things like strength, because you don't necessarily need to be smashing out workouts to improve your strength. We put up a chin-up bar in our house during COVID, and it was the most improvement I ever had in my chin-ups, because I just do one. I go walk to the toilet, one chin-up. And at the beginning, I couldn't even do them. I had to jump. But it was just that act, and my muscles just got stronger. And I was never really sore either, because I wasn't like smashing out sets of them. But just that constant repetition got my muscles working. And, initially it was like, oh, this is hard, but you just do it every time. And then you don't think about it. And then you're just doing chin-ups constantly. The more tightly bound your new habit is to a specific cue, the better the odds that you'll stick with it. Okay. Environment over motivation. The human body has about 11 million sensory receptors, and about 10 million of those are dedicated to sight. Some experts estimate that half of the brain's resources are used on vision. So small changes that you can make in your environment can lead to big shift in what you do. If you walk into the kitchen or the break room at work and there's heaps of junk food, you're probably going to eat it or have a nibble even if you're not hungry, as opposed to if that food wasn't there or if there was fruit instead. Same with Jai and I changed our house around a lot so that instead of having couches, we got rid of them and we sit on the floor. So without even trying, we do more movement. Every time we get up and down to watch TV, we're doing a squat. And there's space on the ground for us to move and stretch while we're watching TV. So we didn't need to be like, I want to move more. I just had to take all the furniture away, and now we move more anyway. But you can do that with lots of things. It's really good with food, like take the bad food away, put the good food where you want it to be. It's much easier to make the right choice when you don't have a wrong choice to make. There's something, a study was done where they told insomniacs if they couldn't sleep to get up and leave their bedroom and only go to bed when they felt really tired. Over time, participants began to associate the context of their bed with the action of sleeping, and it became easier and quicker to fall asleep when they climbed into bed. The participants learned that the bedroom was for sleep, not for TV or browsing on their phone. So you can retrain your brain. If you want to drink more water, put water bottles in common locations: car, desk, handbag, next to the TV. If you want to make a habit a big part of your life, making the cue a big part of your environment is one of the best and most obvious things that you can do. Making a better decision is easy and natural when the cues for the habits are right in front of you. I don't know where it is. I'm not going to scroll down now. I'm just going to try and go off my memory. There's something in here that I read a book. It's called Habits. I'll post it in the thing if anyone else wants to read it as well. I tried to do a little bit of a summary on the most important parts for you guys. It was saying like the difference between people that are like successful and have like good like self-control is not necessarily that they have more self-control, it's just that they're better at making sure that they don't have to work so hard on those things. And I think that in regards to like food and diet, that's me, because I just don't buy bad food. If I go to the supermarket, I don't walk down the aisle that's got the snacks and stuff in it until I live with Jai. But you know, sometimes it'd be like Friday night and I'm like, I feel like chocolate. No chocolate in my house. I don't eat chocolate. That's easy, like so easy. I'm not going to go out to the shops. I don't have that much energy. I don't want it that bad. You know, you need to make it so that the right thing to do is very easy and the things that you don't want to do are annoying and hard. It's the clearest way that I can say. Yeah, the secret to self-control. When scientists analyze people who seem to have tremendous self-control, it turns out those individuals aren't so different from those of us who are struggling. Instead, disciplined people are better at structuring their lives in a way that does not require heroic willpower and self-control. They spend less time in tempting situations. It's easier to practice self-restraint when you don't have to use it very often. So to avoid temptation and change habits, you don't need to be a more disciplined person, you just need to be able to create a more disciplined environment. Yeah, I don't always feel like, I mean, that's a lie, I always feel like exercise. Nah, I don't always feel like exercise, but I'll always do something because I am the type of person that likes exercise. And when I move, I feel better. And I definitely crave bad foods, but I just don't have them around as often. I'm not amazing. I've just created my life and my environment in a way that it's much easier for me to do the things that I know will make me feel better in the long run. And I think that that's definitely something that can be hard if you have someone else that you're living with that isn't going to be making the same decisions as you. But there's definitely ways that you can still set up your environment so that they can eat the junk food if they want to, but it's hidden at the back of the cupboard. They get it out, they don't offer it to you, it stays there. And then the things that you want are sitting out on the couch. Or, you know, you want to move more, so you create more space so that you can do a couple exercises in the lounge room while you're watching TV or whatever it might be. You can definitely set up your space so that it works for you. Because bad habits have a snowball effect. If you feel bad, you eat junk food, and then because you eat junk food, you feel bad. You're watching television, it makes you feel sluggish, so you watch more television because you don't have energy to do anything else. But it can work the other way as well. You know, if you're up in the morning early and you've gone for a walk, you feel really good, and then you maybe clean the house because you're up and you've got lots of energy rather than being like, oh, I'm just going to sit on the couch all day. You know, these things snowball in both directions. There's a bit of information about having each area of your life and your house set up for a particular thing. Like the bedroom is for sleep, and the lounge room is for relaxing, and the kitchen is for cooking healthy food. This can be hard if you have like an open plan house, but he talks about in the book like even having like a corner of the room for each individual thing, that you know that when you move from one space to the other, that's what that space is for. He relates it to like he was working at home during COVID, and he found that he'd be working on his laptop in bed, at the kitchen, in front of the TV, so that he didn't have a mental cue to switch off and go to sleep because everything was just work. So this is good for anyone that wants to prioritize that sleep. You really shouldn't be on your phone, on your laptop, or watching TV in your bedroom. Your bedroom should be a place for sleep and sleep alone, because your body loves your habits and your cues and your things that you build up. And if every time you go to your bedroom, your body just goes, oh, bedroom, sleep, that's an automatic cue that you no longer have to think about, and you're going to fall asleep much faster, rather than your brain being a bit confused and be like, oh, we're going to the bedroom, are we going to do work, are we going to watch a movie? Like, take all of that guesswork out and really try and keep your bedroom for sleep. Okay, the fourth law, make it satisfying. We are more likely to repeat a behavior when we find it satisfying. This feels good. Let's do it again next time. What is rewarded is repeated, and what is punished is avoided. Positive emotions cultivate habits. Negative emotions destroy them. So you need to look for immediate satisfaction. People that are better at delaying gratification have higher test scores, lower levels of substance abuse and obesity, and respond better to stress. The best way to work with your human nature is to add a little bit of instant gratification to the habits that pay off in the long run, and a little bit of immediate pain to the ones that don't. So I spoke about this a little bit earlier. The vital thing to getting a habit to stick is to make sure that you feel successful, even if it's in a small way. That was like me crossing off my calendar. That was my measure of success. In a perfect world, the reward for the good habit is the habit itself. But in the real world, good habits tend to feel worthwhile only after they have provided you with something. So if you want to lose weight or get stronger or have better sleep or not eat junk food, you're not really going to feel amazing about one workout or one healthy meal. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you're like, yes, I've smashed today. I've had a salad. But most of the time, you're not going to lose weight in a day. You're not going to get stronger in a day. You're not going to feel the effects of like how well you've been taking care of yourself until you're like 80. So avoiding junk food now, it's kind of like, why? Even with the rehab with the knee, you're not going to wake up tomorrow and immediately feel better. So sometimes it's difficult to make the right choice in the moment. So you really have to try and think about that long term, or give yourself something that makes you immediately satisfied that you've done the right thing. Immediate reinforcement can be especially helpful when dealing with a habit of avoidance, like no purchases this month, no alcohol for 6 weeks. Because nothing happens when you skip happy hour or don't go shopping, it can be hard to feel satisfied when there's no action in the first place. All you're doing is resisting temptation, and there isn't much satisfying about that. You need to pick rewards that support your identity, not go against them. So if you want to lose weight, you can't reward yourself with a bowl of ice cream. Be like, oh, I ate salad all week and now I get ice cream on the weekend. It needs to be like, I stuck to my goal, I didn't eat junk food for a week, and now I'm going to get a massage. I'm going to get my nails done, get my hair done. Something that, I'm going to go to the hot springs, something that reinforces that self-identity that we spoke about at the very beginning. If you're the type of person that doesn't have processed foods, then you don't want to reward yourself at the end of it with that, because that goes against what we're trying to achieve. Eventually, intrinsic rewards like better mood, more energy, and reduced stress kick in, and you'll be less concerned with chasing that immediate reward, like setting up a savings account or crossing off something on the calendar. You keep the habit up because it's who you are and it feels good. Incentives start a habit, but identity sustains it. Immediate reinforcement helps maintain motivation in the short term whilst you're getting started and waiting for the long-term results to kick in. So for me, with my meditation, I now meditate most days. It took a long time, and even after I finally achieved all 30 days, I literally immediately stopped. I was like, oh, thank goodness I'm done with that. And for ages I didn't do it. And I noticed a difference. When I had been meditating every day, I was much less quick to anger. I didn't get as frustrated with things in my day. I was much calmer. So even after all my attempts, when I went back to my old ways, I was like, I actually don't feel as good. And then that is what kept me going with the habit. And I don't need the calendar anymore. I don't need to give myself some immediate gratification, because I know that when I do it, I'm a better person. And that's all that I need. And I also don't need to do it every day. I do it most of the time. I didn't do it this morning. Jai and I were setting up for this and I forgot, but I'll do it again tomorrow. And I'm still the type of person that does my meditation. I am a meditator. I don't do meditation sometimes. That's part of who I am now. And it took a long time. Changing your identity is a huge thing to ask yourself to do. But I notice the intrinsic rewards, and that's what keeps me going now. You need to have all these like tips and tricks to get you started and get that habit going. But then once you've got it, you feel like you're you, like this is the person that I want to be, and that's the part that makes it easy. Habit tracking. A study done of 1,600 people found that those who kept a food diary lost twice as much weight as those who didn't. The mere act of tracking a behaviour can be the spark to urge a change. So even with your trying to avoid processed foods, even if you got a like calendar, and I could print it off for you, you could print off your own, or you could probably put it even in your calendar on your phone, and every time you eat a food that is less than ideal or something that you would like to avoid, you write it down. And so then when you can look back at the week and be like, oh, okay, I ate fun foods or foods that I want to avoid 4 days, and I really would like it to be less. And maybe the next week you can go for 3 days. It's just the act of writing it down can often be the catalyst to change. The most effective form of motivation is progress. Habit tracking provides visual proof of your hard work. It's satisfying to cross an item off your list. If you're focused on the process rather than the results, you don't want to get six-pack abs, you just want to do 20 minutes of exercise every day, you become the person that doesn't miss workouts. It's much more satisfying, like I was saying, especially with the meditation. Like I couldn't really, when I was doing it, notice at the time that it was having any significant impact on my life or my health. But at the end of it, seeing all the days crossed off, especially after I had struggled for so long, that was really satisfying to me. So you could do the same thing with your knee rehab. You'd be like, I want to set it up so it's very specific. After breakfast every day, I'll do 5 minutes of rehab, or after I go to the toilet every time I'll do, and you've got your place set up for it, you've made it satisfying, you've made it appealing, you've made it nice, and then when you've done it, you cross it off, and then you can, it doesn't matter whether you do 1 minute or 5 minutes, but every day that you do it, you cross it off. And that visual of your success now isn't whether your knee stops hurting or you get to where you started. Your success is that you've been consistent and you've tried every day, and that becomes extremely rewarding, because sometimes our goals that we set out to achieve change. So if you say you want to get a six-pack abs, I will say you're more likely to be a millionaire, but good luck to you. But if you don't achieve six-pack abs, you feel shit. But if you just go, I'm going to do 20 sit-ups every day, and then you start to do that, you stop caring about whether you get six-pack abs and just go, I'm doing awesome with my sit-ups. It can be hard to do 2 habits at once. So if you're like, I don't want to eat processed foods, but I also don't want to have to write down everything that I eat, I can understand that that would be annoying. But even if you could do it for a week or 2, it would kind of give you a good visual. I like to do food diaries for most people anyway, and just hand write down everything you eat each day, and then at the end of the week you can go through, and in a pink highlighter I do bad fun foods, and green are the ones like the perfect meals, and then yellow are the sometimes meals, and then you've got a very clear visual. You're like, oh, a lot of this is pink, that's not so good, or most of that's green, and I'm happy with that. No matter how consistent you are, there is no doubt you will slip up. Things happen, life happens. You go to parties, you have a birthday, it's Christmas. These things are all totally normal, totally fine. We just don't want to miss twice, because that's when that negative spiral happens. We're so hard on ourselves. We're like, if I can't do it perfectly, I've eaten junk, I might as well throw the whole 8 weeks out the window. It very quickly can descend into madness. So just be easy on yourself if you do slip up, and just get straight back on track either later that day or tomorrow, depending on what your habit is that you're trying to change. The last note that I have is about having an accountability partner, which is what this group is for, because just saying your goals out loud, sharing them with people, often people want to start coming to the gym. They're much more likely to come if they've got a friend, or you want to go for a walk, but a walk's way nicer if you've got somebody with you. You two are both going to be like, I really feel like eating this, and then the other person goes, me too, but let's not do it. And it's so much better when you're like, we're struggling through it together. There's just misery loves company, So try and use the group as much as possible, either the group chat or the Facebook group, whether you're eating a really good meal and you're super happy, post it and we can all like it and congratulate you, or if you're having a day and you're really struggling and Stacey doesn't feel like doing your knee rehab exercise, you go, just do one exercise, Stacey, just like one movement and you'll feel so much better, and then you will, and we're all in it together. So there's obviously a lot of information in there, but I'll send you through the document that I've written up so that you can reread it if you want to, and people that weren't here can also read it. Obviously I actually think it's harder to stop something that you're already doing rather than to try and do something new. I feel like there's a lot more strategies, like you want to do your knee rehab. There was a lot of information there, like how you can fit it into your day. But if it's something that's like, you don't eat junk food every day, I assume. Sarah's like, I do. Probably not at the same time every day. Maybe that would be easier to change, because like at 4 p.m. every day I have a chocolate bar. You go, okay, 4 p.m. every day I'm gonna, and then I'm gonna have a banana and I'm going to put $5 in my bank account. I don't know what it is, like something that's like satisfying. But yeah, it's harder if it's like a random thing. It's like sometimes on Fridays I feel like junk food, or sometimes it's on Sunday. You're like, how do I break this kind of like, it's not a consistent habit, so that's harder to break down. But just message in the group and be like, someone help me! I'm about to crave. Any questions about any of that? So when we have our sessions, our first session during the week, we will individually write down what your goal is and try and work out an exact plan. So over the next few days, try and think about that. Say if you're happy, because you only want to try probably and changing like 1 or 2 habits at a time, because otherwise if you're like, I want to move more and I also want to cut out junk food and I'm also going to do my rehab and I'm also going to cut out this and I'm going to do this, I'm going to add this in and I want to stand on one leg, it's like, too much. So try and pick 1 or 2 things that you want to change or work towards changing over the 8-week period, and we can set out how we're going to try and do those individually. We're also going to do a cardio fitness test and a couple of strength tests so that we can work on those and retest again at the end as well. That's all I have to say. Thank you for coming and listening to my TED Talk. Today, I'll send it out pretty much now.
Yep.
And try and send out the video as well for those that weren't here. Thanks, Jai. My biggest fan.